Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
She's giggling over the science.
It's just so cute the way they tell their stories. Over 717 million billion years ago, this thing happened. And it just makes me giggle now. It's okay.
One day at band camp.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
Oh boy, stories, and more stories. Make sure you are subscribed to all 3 channels. All right, we'll start over here. Yet another hazardous material train derailment with evacuations. This is in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And this is again CSX Norfolk Southern. So, here we go. Deja vu yet again. Homes and businesses close to the scene have been evacuated as a precaution. They say it's a level 2 evacuation. The thing that really hit me was, do you remember we were just talking about sinkholes, right? Now, we had one sinkhole pop up just south of Allentown and one just north of Philly. And this is kind of right in between the two. So we do know there's a lot of sleepy cellular units doing all sorts of chaos. But I got to wonder if this was, was this something with the earth collapsing underneath the feet or underneath the train tracks? Or
Well, I would feel if it was the planet and she was doing her thing that she is going to give forewarning, and in this way, to me, it's a forewarning from the planet. That's how I'm taking it.
Okay, so you feel like this was not something sabotage. This was actually, is that correct, or am I wrong?
Well, if it's coming from this sinkhole, I don't feel it's sabotage. But then again, you have to look at its hazardous materials again. So,
Yeah, it's just curious because this is right in line with those 2 sinkholes that we talked about like 2 days ago. One was down in here, the other was over in here, and this was, kind of in between. So interesting. And by the way, over in Pennsylvania, I didn't realize this, but 5 people lost their lives because of the rain that came in the storms in Pennsylvania on Saturday. So, 5 confirmed deaths and 2 kids missing. Let's pray for those little ones. Overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed, and the rain overwhelmed storm sewers, brooks, and streams. And, again, this is one of those situations that you might think you could handle it, but it's just stay safe. Now, yesterday we were hit with a power outage, which gave us the nudge, because we do have a generator, but we have a generator that was intended to run a 19-foot camper and not a house. So we do need to get a whole house generator, which we're going to get in the works this week. And it is absolutely, it's time. It is time, because we're just going to have more of these outages. The wind that came up was bizarre yesterday. It was bizarre. And we have friends, 100 miles away that had the same wicked weather we did as well. It was really, the straight line winds and the clouds were just wild. It was all of a sudden like hurricane force winds out of nowhere, and it wasn't even forecast.
it was so strange because last night, I don't know, I think I've told you guys this before, but I'm pretty much deaf in my right ear, but I was getting these tones. I can hear tones and I can hear shifts in tones. And I was getting the weirdest tone the night before. And then Sassy really started getting upset right around 2. So I'm picking up that this is something. This is a type of harp that angels don't play, or it's something else. And then the power bumped, and then the wind starts going through like it was almost targeted. And it wasn't just us, it was some people that we know that are not too far away, and then super heavy rains. It just was not normal. It wasn't on the radar. It just was really odd, and I think they're just getting very good at pinpointing things sometimes. I could be wrong, but everything fell in line with weirdness.
Yeah, there's absolutely, as we've been saying, sometimes you can sense the technology in play. Sometimes you see the clouds that have ripples in them. Of course, you always are going to have those that are working for the system itself to downplay it, say, oh, it's just a circumambulatory cloud. Yeah. Don't you know that? Silly. You should really go to the School of Higher Rockefeller Education. Yeah. Get completely brainwashed now. Strong 6.6 earthquake hits in Argentina. So this is an intermittent depth. And, it doesn't appear that there was any major loss of life or any major damage because again, the deeper you go, generally less shaking up at the surface, but it does make the potential again for, a little bit larger quake. Now, we had the big 7.2, 7.4 up in Alaska. To me, this feels like, wow, did this energy come all the way down? And it didn't really do anything throughout Cascadia and the San Andreas. And we've been watching quakes along Mexico's coast. We've been watching, some small to moderate sized quakes over in Baja. But it feels like Cascadia and the San Andreas are like locked up and not moving. So, again, that makes it feel even a little bit more ominous. And this is a cool graphic because, again, that 7.2, 7.4, some sources, it really does roll out. And you can see it rolling all the way through the country. So, we all are affected when you have these bigger events. Boy, we will all be affected when the two big ones go and probably trigger the third big one in the center of the country. And again, that could end up triggering the one over in Charleston area as well, as Charleston had a quake that liquefied the ground, and you can still go down Church Street and see the evidence of that quake 150 years ago, as the church steeple on Church Street is crooked still to this day. These fish, these giant ocean oarfish, are believed to be, when they move up to the surface, people take it as an omen that there's big quakes coming. And so this one, you can see scuba divers in Taiwan encountered one of these guys. Look how big they are. I don't know, 20 feet maybe? Still, harbinger of earthquakes and misfortune in Japanese mythology.
So I'm looking at that guy. Is he that shiny? Is he reflecting the light off of somebody's thing? Or is that light that's inside of him, is that like his own electric pulse?
He's reflecting the light. And, have you ever seen those fish that are almost like silver?
Yeah.
Like a metallic silver? That's kind of like what he is. I got to wonder, yeah, he's really amazing and he's huge. Yeah. But at the same time, they're not even the slightest bit afraid of him. If it was a shark that size, different story.
I know. He's a handsome fella.
And we have a whole lot of wildfires still ongoing up in Canada. A ton of them. And in fact, if you look at the map, there's 373 just in British Columbia. It's 373 current wildfires in BC. I mean, and you can see how spread out they are. Again, ongoing toxicity to the air and, the environment. Everything is changing. And again, every day when you go on Twitter, all you're barraged with is, we're burning up. One map was saying desertification of all of Europe. And, of course, they put the color deep red up as if, the entirety of Europe is 120 plus, but the reality is they're just changing the colors they use for a dramatic effect. Yeah, there's some record highs going, but there's also record lows, but it's all about sales. We understand that. So we have Russian scientists warning of powerful solar flare activity on Monday. We'll keep an eye on it. When we look to NOAA, we can see that we do have a minor geomagnetic storm watch. And, we can feel the energies. The energies of change are here, absolutely. And so we see the KP has, after being very, very quiet, like right around 1, it's elevated to between 4 and 5 for the most part. and is expected to continue as they say here again. We've had CMEs incoming. We haven't had any X class, but we do see we had some M class coming out. That when the big one comes, sooner or later it will come. This insect-sized spy drones unveiled. Yeah, back in 2007, rumors began circulating that this was going to be a weapon. And yeah, absolutely. And of course, we have Gil Bates, who released so many modified mosquitoes in both Florida and Texas. I wonder if any of these were in there, eh? These things, I mean, seriously, if it's flying by quick, would you notice? It looks like it's got an ouchie on it. Well, I remember watching a military guy giving a presentation. I want to say it was back in 2017, 2018. And the video ended up getting scrubbed off the internet. At least at one point, I could not find it again. And he had a dummy dressed up like a soldier. And he was giving a demo in a big auditorium. And one of these little guys goes buzzing around. Excuse me, guys. And it goes and heads right towards the soldier. And when it impacts, it had a small explosive on it. And poof, the dummy lost its cabeza. Yeah. A scary thought, especially when we hear about swarms of these. These things coming out in the hundreds or thousands. That's pretty crazy. There was a comment too about, this kind of sounds like Revelation, because in Revelation there's some things that torment humans that appear to be kind of mechanical.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, the entire time you're doing that, I am thinking about those little statements in Revelations, and it would be, if we could get ourselves in the right mood, it would be curious to do a video on that. Just to pick it apart a little bit, because when we look at the Bible, we know so many times it's only foretelling, because this is a cycle of the yugas and there's technology involved. Every single time there's technology involved. So when we go back to revisit these things with the understanding that, these are little robots. These are little things that were created, via the controllers and some other people that are in higher positions that know how to put these things together. Why? Because they're using an intelligence that's been on the planet for a very long time, and this is the only time that they can get away with this stuff and do this stuff. And it's up to us if we want to separate from this energy or not, and kind of get out of the way of the moving train, because this stuff is going to keep going in certain places, and we have to step out of the way. We have to be the ones that change our route.
I remember a conversation we had with our friend David Devine, DAP 2030, a long time ago. It was one of our first deep conversations, because we've had some where we go to schedule a time to talk and do a video, and then we end up talking for 3 hours. And it was about the cycles and talking about the Younger Dryas and saying, okay, so what if? And what if we just took out the extraterrestrial component? What if you had a society that was, say, at our level, and we understand that the military and stuff has equipment, and I think most people would accept that the military has equipment that might be 40 years ahead of what they show. All right, imagine everything gets totally reset right now. We have cataclysmic events, and only ones that really survive, besides the people that get mentally wiped because of the magnetism issues, and just having the struggle to survive in a world that's going through just incredible cataclysm, are the ones that utilize the technology to either go in Earth or off Earth, humans, and then they come back and they settle down, or they come out and they settle down. That gives them 12,000 years of technology when they were already at this state in time. So in a sense, we really don't even need extraterrestrials, because even the people that survived that had technology equivalent to now would have a technology that's 12,000 years ahead of us now. Younger Dryas cataclysm, maybe 11,700. 12,000 years ago, yeah, they would have things that would make them appear to be gods, even just the humans, not taking into effect that it is truly a galactic war, but just the human survivors would have that technology that would make them look like gods.
All right. And, I was thinking while you were talking about that, that's right. I mean, that could very well be. I think the only problem that we have is that these beings of a much higher level of technology, they're going to want to maintain control and make sure that every human that is doing human stuff is, carefully monitored.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, why are we seeing these things? Well, because at some point in time, and maybe not too far off, people are going to wake up to the point where they're no longer going to work for the Great Wizard of Oz. And we see this. The German MP and member of parliament vows to dismantle who? Yeah, who? And their grip on governments. German MP Christine Anderson last week shredded the WHO, calling it a group of globalitarian misanthropists. Yeah, and basically said again, they're non-elected. They make all the decisions. An unelected body who is controlled and run by multi-billionaires should never be allowed to act in the place of a democratically elected government. Well, as she, applause, well stated, will become more and more of the norm. Again, they're not going to have the humans to do it. Hence, here you go. This is, again, those robot dogs that we see out there all the time, the Boston Dynamics looking dogs. It's so interesting, too. They remade that War of the Worlds series. And, who was the alien invaders? They were humans. But, yeah, there are extraterrestrials out there. Absolutely. We've interacted with many, many different types. And again, look at all the data they give us. Massive lava outbursts may have led to snowball Earth. Eruption dates suggest chemical weathering of rocks triggered plunging temperatures. Well, again, when the Earth is not dissimilar from us, and again, it's a being, and of which our bodies are all cells. When she needs to get rid of an infection, she runs a temperature. And you could think of the lava and everything erupting is a way of fighting infection. And, ultimately, this is what we got when we were talking about mer people yesterday in the video. Well, we actually got, Cindy was channeling them, and they were talking about that is taking place in the oceans right now. So some of these abnormal ocean temperatures, again, if you were scientists from 12,000 years ago and you maintain knowledge, for yourself, you would know that this is going to happen at some point in time, and you would utilize that as an opportunity to instill greater control as your narrative starts to fall apart. And that's exactly what they're doing. Their narrative's falling apart, but yet they know there's going to be some things that happen. And yeah, there's a lot of volcanic activity. A few years back, I want to say maybe about 4 years ago, we discovered there was like 100+ new volcanoes under the western Antarctic ice shelf. Well, that's why the western side was melting far more than the eastern side, because there wasn't as many volcanoes going off on the eastern side. It had nothing to do with the air temperature per se. They were being melted from below from the volcanic activity. And, we also had strange anomalous readings. We did a video over on Evolutionary before we were, you can see this one, 5 years ago, 105,000 views. That's before. You could see, everybody all of a sudden got mad at us and they left. No, it's just this is the AI taking over and saying, they're not going along with the program. We have to stop them now. That's actually, absolutely what they do. Is there a super volcano getting active? Because we had really weird anomalous readings in the Gulf. Yeah, absolutely. This is all going to be redone. The entire planet's going to look totally, totally different when we come out of this period. Now, it's not going to be like the 2012 movie where you have, tsunamis just inundating the Himalayas. No, but there will be new land, and absolutely, the planet will be clean. It will be clean. So, yeah, when the volcanic activity comes, that leads to cooling off. So what are we seeing right now? Well, right now, Mother Earth has a raging temperature, which much of it has been caused by technology irritating her.
Mm-hmm. And, when it comes to the volcanoes and the lava, that's a purification. It's a way that she goes into the ocean and she's able to filter and purify and deal with, I know they talk about forever plastics and they're always going to be here. No, they're not. Earth definitely has a way to process this information out. And also when it comes to things that are, artificial, like plastics and so on and so forth, at a certain level, all of these things are broken down and they're still a part of the earth. There's just certain things that are pulled together and they're utilized to make other things. But no, she has the ability to break things down completely and completely renew herself.
And here we see ancient Chinese relics point to unbroken cultural links that began 1 million years ago. Powerful new evidence connects hominin activity to the rise of Chinese culture. Complete evolutionary chain of ancient humans in China has been established. So basically saying the whole out of Africa theory that, generations have been taught. Oh, yeah, that was wrong. Yeah. Well, we're going to give you something new. You don't like the old BS? We'll give you some new BS. As new research puts the age of the universe at 26.7 billion years. About twice as old as we thought. Hey, we were close, right? I mean, again, they rewrite the science constantly. And as we start to learn more, they just rewrite it again. So how can you trust something that is so wrong so much of the time, if not all the time? I liked this. The human eye is limited to seeing between 430 and 770 THz. Our ears can only detect sound between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. These ranges constitute only a fraction of the entire sound and light frequency spectrum. Tiny fraction. As a result, there's a vast amount of activity occurring around us that remain unseen and unheard. And that is so key to really, really understand deeply.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it though? Looking at this and then understanding that there is so much more out there than we can actually see. And we are evolving, we are changing, we are able to perceive more and more and more. But I think we have to keep remembering that we are in a 3D reality. So what we see right now, right here, right now, the experiences we have are very pertinent, even though it is fun to explore these other energies.
Yeah, so when we see these old photographs, what are you looking at? Is that a telegraph? Is it telegraph? Or is it some sort of medieval torture device? What the heck is that? Because we see these things in these old photographs and, many of them associated with Tartaria. Because, we hear of the technology to pull energy right out of the ether. And then, again, if we could pull energy right out of the ether, the whole system collapses. There's really no reason for the system to be. And yet, the reality is, that technology is out there.
And I have been watching something a little bit, wanting to do experiments myself, but it's called electroculture. I don't know if any of you play with this or experiment with it, but apparently you can put the copper wire, twist it in such a way that it does pull the energy from the ether, brings it into your plants, and your plants are huge and they're healthy, and they don't need all of this fertilizer that people put into the ground that might, dehydrate your soil. But then we look at these guys, and these guys are just hugging and cuddling and loving, and they're at peace, and they're just right here, right now, and knowing that they're a couple cute, cuddly, furry kitties. Oh, and then there was this guy too. He's just taking up some shelter under the ear. Isn't that cute? That's
Peekaboo.
he's so cute. He's playing peekaboo. It's like Rama would do something like that. Rama's a big sweetie.
He is. And this guy's got the steering wheel. I mean, this guy is really smart. I mean, look at that. He's steering this. And you know, his quote unquote master. Again, we got to look at it in different terms. You know, these are family members. And he's got it. Don't worry. Lean back. You know, since you're drinking, I'm driving.
Isn't that adorable?
Absolutely. And thank you guys again for your support over on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi, as we'll have some Patreon-only material going up on a regular basis. Make sure, again, you are subscribed to all 3 channels. Evolutionary still has about 3 days in timeout, unless they find something else, which they are searching every day. EEARTS, and also Heart's Home, the newest. Much love. Stay prepared out there. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.